In this video, I will demonstrate how to make stacking leaf plates. So in a prior class period, you should have chosen the template that you want to use for your leaf plates, and you'll be receiving two pieces of paper. One will have your largest leaf template, and the other will have your medium and small. Now for the assignment, the requirement is that you make at least two. The big one is the requirement, and then one of the smaller ones. If you want to make all three, you may make all three as well, but two is going to be the requirement. So the first thing that you'll need to do when you get your pieces of paper is to cut around your template. And as you're cutting, you want to take your time. You want to try to cut up along the edge of the outline of each leaf. So I'm going to take a few minutes to cut mine out, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about how to begin. Okay, so once you have all of your leaves cut out, okay, I'm gonna cut in right now to show you how to roll a slab if you don't have access to a slab roller. So maybe you're working on this project at home. You should have some clay that was given to you at home. The first thing that you want to do though is you want to get your workspace set up. So you should be working on a sturdy table. And when rolling out a slab, you don't want to roll it directly onto the surface. You want to find something to put in between that will prevent the clay from sticking to your tabletop. So you could use newspaper if you have some newspaper laying around. You can spread this out and then go ahead and roll on top of the newspaper. Or if you have a piece of fabric, maybe an old t-shirt or an old pillowcase that you can lay down on your workspace, this works really nicely as well. So I just have a cut piece of sheet that I'm laying down on top of my workspace. Some other tools that you at home will need. You will need some way to roll out your slab. So ideally, if you have a rolling pin, this would be a really good opportunity to use the rolling pin, and we can use this to roll out our slabs. But we can find some other things around our house if we don't have a rolling pin, or if we don't want to use our kitchen rolling pin with clay. So some things that I found just looking around my house, you might have like a dowel rod for some reason at home. This is kind of like what your in your closet rod is made out of. So this is nice. It's cylindrical. Really anything cylindrical will help you to roll out your slab. You may also possibly have PVC pipe, and some people, when you came in to get clay, I may have given you a piece of pipe to use as a rolling pin, and you can use that one. You can also get more creative. If you can't find a rolling pin, you can also maybe look under your sink. So anything cylindrical will work. So I found this bathroom cleaner under my sink, and I can use this to roll out my slab. Or I also have this water bottle here that's a cylinder that I could use to roll out my slab. So anything cylindrical will work. So that's the first important step. The second one is to have a way to make sure that your slabs are going to be an equal thickness. We don't want one side to be thick and the other side to be thin. We want it to be an even thickness throughout, and that's really important, or these slabs can start to warp as they dry because they're going to be drying at a different rate. So one tool that I have that works nicely, these are paint sticks for like the large buckets of paint. And I just got these at the local hardware store. You probably, if you went there, could probably get 2 of them for free if you ask nicely. They do sell these as well, but I don't know that you necessarily need to go out and buy them. If you can't make it to the hardware store, look around your house to see if you have anything that's sturdy, that's approximately the thickness we're looking for. So these sticks here are approximately 1/4 of an inch wide. So if I were to lay this down flat, from the table to the top of this stick is 1/4 of an inch. So that's about the thickness we want our slabs to be for our plates. If you don't have those, look around and see if you have something like 2 pencils. So these pencils are actually the same thickness as these sticks. So from top to bottom, they're the same thickness. It might be just a little bit more tricky if the pencils want to roll around on you, but these would work as well. So these guide sticks are going to help us to get our slab to the right thickness. And what it's actually doing is it's going to prevent our rolling pin from pressing down too deep. So it's stopping the rolling pin from going too deep. Okay, so again, the pencils or these guide sticks here. Now, if all you have are the thinner paint stick stirrers, you could tape 2 of them together, like 2 and 2, and that would give you a better thickness. Okay. So I'm going to show you just here with these pencils because this might be the best option for most of you working at home. So I'll use this and then I'll use my rolling pin to show you what to do. So you're going to want to open up your bag of clay and carefully cut some off. Now when you do this, I have like a piece of fishing line here tied onto some beads that I'm using to pull to cut my clay. Just be very careful when you're cutting clay off your block, but it's going to work best if you're able to get a flat piece when you cut. So I'm going to move this off to the side so I don't get dried clay all over my mat here as I open my bag. Okay, so those of you working at home, you're also going to have to print off your own template. If you don't have access to a printer, you can try to draw out your own, would be fine as well, but it does need to be cut out of a piece of paper. And you want to make sure that the piece of clay that you cut yourself is going to be big enough for at least one of your leaf plates. If you don't get all 3 on one, that's okay. You can cut more as you need it. So I'm going to use my wire cutting tool here, my clay cutter, and I'm going to pull it tight and carefully cut some clay off of my block. Of course, I'm going to make sure that I wrap up my extra clay so it does not dry out. So what you're going to do is you're going to place your piece of clay onto your fabric or whatever you found to put down on your work surface, maybe newspaper, and making sure that we're a little bit wider than our template. When you hand roll yours, it can be we can adjust this by turning our slab as we're rolling, so it's not as necessary that our piece of clay is wider than the template because we can work our way to that. What is important though is that we have our template nearby and that we use our guide sticks to help us. So the guide sticks only work if they're underneath the rolling pin, so you've got to make sure that they are in place where the rolling pin will not be able to go like in between them. If I had them way out here, my rolling pin's not going to stop where it needs to. Okay, so I got to keep that in mind. Now I'm going to start by gently rolling back and forth, kind of just to get this started. I'm going to stand up as I do this so I can get a better angle. And when I'm rolling, I like to not use the handles on my rolling pin actually, kind of put my hands in the middle. And if you have dried clay that gets stuck in there from your bag, I'd recommend trying to scrape that out. Okay. So we're going to continue rolling this. I'm just going to do a little at a time, and then I'm going to flip this. So I want to make sure that I'm not just keeping my slab going in one position. I want to keep changing the way my slab is going. So I'm going to kind of turn it and flip it even, so that now I'm rolling the opposite side. And I'm gonna keep doing this, rolling it a little bit, flipping it, rolling it a little bit, flipping it, until the slab stops stretching. So it's gonna start to stretch, get longer and thinner. So again, it's wider than my template. Okay, so I'm good there, but it's not to the right thickness yet. So I have to keep this process going until the clay no longer grows, and it'll only stop if we have the guide sticks underneath. So if you need to trim your clay a little bit to get it to line up and move the guide sticks occasionally as you go, I'd recommend that. You should not be doing this in one pass. As you're rolling this, you're also compressing the clay, and that's gonna help bring some air bubbles to the surface if there are any, and it's gonna make the slab stronger. So it's very important that we keep flipping. So I'm gonna just keep this going until it stops stretching. Okay, so my slab is now the thickness of the pencils. So if I were to turn this sideways, hold it up so that you can see. It's nice and even. It's the same width as my pencil all the way throughout. So once you at home roll out your slabs, for the most part, the rest of the project is going to be the same as in class, with one exception when we get to our hump and slump mold. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So I'm gonna clean this up, and I'm going to pause here for a minute and then come back, and we're gonna talk about the next step. Now, there's only a few things we're gonna be doing on day one of this assignment, rolling out our slabs and then preparing them for the next class. So the next step for preparing our slabs is going to be to do a rough cut of our templates. So I'm gonna take my templates that I have here, and I'm gonna arrange them on my slab, and if I'm able to fit them all, that would be ideal. If not, then you can see me for more clay, and we can roll out a second smaller slab. But it looks like on mine, I should be able to fit all mine. So I'm gonna start with just a rough cut, which means leaving, a little bit of space around the edges of the template. And then we're gonna let these rest overnight. So I'm gonna use a pin tool, hold on. All right, so I'm gonna use either a pin or a needle tool to just carefully cut around my templates. And the cut doesn't have to be pretty, but we wanna get rid of all this extra clay that we have out here. It's really important that today you don't cut up to the template. The clay is way too soft for that. It will make it a lot easier to do this after the next class. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of all of this extra clay, and this clay can be broken up and put into the reclaim bucket to be recycled and reused. Then each table is going to be given a board to stack these on. And when we stack them, we don't want to keep our piece of paper on top. Otherwise, they're going to get really wet as they're stored. So please make sure you remove your templates. One other thing you can do to help you determine whose is whose, maybe I should have done that before, just like in some of the outside area, maybe you could use your wooden scribe tool to carve your initials in the outside in one of the rough cut areas so that we know whose is whose. Or you could put a little piece of scrap paper with your name on top of yours. But we're gonna be stacking these on our boards with a piece of damp paper towel in between. So I'm gonna go grab a board so I can show you how this is done. Okay, so this board that I have here is big enough, at least for mine. The board that I give you in class might be a little bit bigger, or we might even have to spread it into two boards. We'll kind of just see what we have available. But
You want to make sure you're storing on the plastic side of the board, not on the drywall side. So plastic side, the drywall side will dry these out too much, but we got to be careful because the clay can stick to the plastic. So I'm going to take a piece of dry paper towel and I'm going to cover the board with a piece of dry first, just so that my clay doesn't stick. Then I'm going to place my largest slab down first. And then I'm gonna get another piece of paper towel. This time, I'm gonna make it damp. So I'm just gonna I have a bucket here that I'm just using. So I'm gonna get my paper towel wet, but I wanna make sure to squeeze out all the water. If I don't, then my slabs are gonna be way too smushy next class. So I'm really squeezing out as much as I can. And then I'm gonna just carefully open up my paper towel. I'm gonna lay it on top of my slab. And it's okay if there's like a little bit of your edges sticking out of the paper towel. This is just to help them stay at this temperature, allow these slabs to rest and to be used to being stretched. Then I'm gonna take my medium-sized slab, lay it down on top. I'll put another piece of damp paper towel over that. This piece of paper towel is kind of long, so I might even be able to fold it back over my small piece. But then I'm gonna put my smallest one on top. And if you're only doing two, that's fine. Just wanna make sure that they're all wrapped up with the damp paper towel. All right, so once we have all of our slabs taken care of, the next step is to store the whole board in a plastic bag. Now, because of the way we're storing these and we're storing them on a board, it's especially important that your bag is sealed well. So I'm gonna put the whole board inside of the bag. And I checked my bag before I did this to make sure there were no holes in it. And then I'm going to kind of tuck and twist my bag closed. And then when I put this, when I store this, if I'm storing it in my cabinet, I'm just gonna tuck that open and underneath the board so the board can kind of hold itself, hold the bag closed. At this point, this is as far as we'll get on day one.